My name is Mike Jackson.
Hi.
I'm a parent, and I'm an Ontario educator who has opposed the lockdown measures since day one. Many educators have reached out to me over this time period about the horrendous damage being done to our children, which has compelled me to speak today.
Yes.
As educators, it is imperative that we be the utmost experts in our fields of instruction, for we are the ones shaping the minds of the next generation, to help them prepare for life of meaning and fulfillment. But we are not just teaching academic knowledge, but often social norms and social and societal norms. This is an ESL teacher for you. I gotta love it. Sadly, many of our educators have been unable to investigate and verify the information presented by the mainstream news outlets, government officials, internal memos from the boards and unions and whatnot. This is primarily due to a substantial increase in workload and stress because of the transfer to online teaching. I mean, most of the teachers were just not prepared for that. And unfortunately, they don't really have the time to investigate. But that's no excuse. But it is the reality. Many in the education system who are aware of the gaping scientific holes, and they are gaping holes. Those who are aware of the gaping holes of the COVID-19 narrative, like our law enforcement, medical workers, and most other professions, they fear speaking up due to disciplinary action leading to possible job loss. That's why most people aren't speaking up. It's that fear of losing your job. Unfortunately, many of the people in professions don't realize that the direction our country is going, you're probably not going to have a job.
Exactly.
So it's coming down to a moral rightness that has to be done here. There's a real lack of courage in all the professions, but slowly people are starting to take action, which is good. All our jobs are important.
Yeah,
all jobs. I'm just speaking on behalf of some of the professionals.
Okay.
But all jobs are important because it's an economy. It's like a big engine that keeps moving, and all of our jobs are essential, not just what they deem essential.
No energy, no movement. They put them down, yeah?
So this is the problem. Many of our teachers are fearing disciplinary action for speaking out. Sadly, this keeps many complacent and, quote, just doing their job. However, complacency is how tyranny takes root. Last week, to the surprise of many, a group of rightly concerned parents and educators put the members of the Catholic School Board on notice under common law. This is a testament to the severity and the growing awareness of the damage that's being done to our kids. Thankfully, there are some educators that are trying to push back and are doing whatever actions they can to protect their students from these unwarranted mandates, but many are not. So please, my fellow educators who are watching this online, those of you who are aware of what's really going on and not doing anything about it, I implore you, for the sake of your students, your children, your moral conscience, and to be on the right side of history, you must speak up. Yes! You must take action. You must.
Teachers, wake up! Yeah!
Tell them, Paul.
This next part, I'm going to speak as a concerned parent and a fellow Canadian.
For kids.
That's right.
Since the lockdowns, our lawmakers have clearly shown to be more interested in social conditioning into the new normal dogma rather than an actual academic education. Our schools are conditioning our children to be afraid, silent, and isolated from their peers and loved ones. They're being conditioned to believe that being masked, which also carries a threat of bacterial infections, and as far as I understand, can potentially give brain damage to the very young. Check that with the nurses, they'll be able to tell you.
I think they already got brain damage.
They're being conditioned, our children, to falsely believe that they're perpetually infected rather than perpetually healthy.
I didn't mean the kids. I didn't mean that like that.
They believe they're infected with COVID and think they could kill their parents, their grandparents, their teachers if they just breathe. There's nothing scientific about this.
No.
Our kids are healthy. What's happening in our schools is it's creating a state of psychological, emotional, and physical distress in our children to the point that in some cases, we're seeing suicides.
A lot.
Suicide should never be acceptable in a country of children.
A life is a life, right? What do you have to say about that, Sheep?
However, the most egregious, inhumane COVID-19 measure that I observed was the recent attempt, thank God it failed, but the recent attempt in Peel region whereby parents were expected to put their children in a 14-day solitary confinement, quarantine,
Yeah, that's crazy.
in their own homes under the coercive threat of a $5,000 per day fine. You've got to be kidding me.
The kids got taking the vaccine, aren't they? The kids are not taking the vaccine.
What I do find quite ironic with that attempt is that if you look at Rule 45.2 from the 2015 United Nations Standard Minimum Rules for the Treatment of Prisoners, it's also known as the Nelson Mandela Rules. It explicitly prohibits, quote, the use of solitary confinement and similar measures in cases involving women and children. So this should never even have been on the table as an option for kids in quarantine. No way! No way!
They're not getting the vaccine, are they?
What's up, Jim? Church of Bubble.
And yet, the public health officials expected parents to do this to their own toddlers? I've looked in the dictionary for a word to describe this, but evil is the only one that comes to mind.
Truly is. Yeah. Seriously.
Now, our leaders, they can gaslight the rapidly growing informed public all they want. The government's mantra, quote, we must protect the children, bears no resemblance to reality when you look at the mandates. In fact, knowing that our Prime Minister announced publicly, and this is not conspiracy theory, people, our Prime Minister announced it, that he is pushing forward with the, quote, Great Reset.
Yeah.
I call it the Great Fascist Reset.
Yeah.
He actually stated this was his agenda, so this is not a conspiracy theory. They're putting it in your face. They're telling you.
They're telling you what you want to hear.
But having said that, we only need to look to the most infamous fascists in history to understand the, quote, we must protect the children mantra. Listen to this. Quote, the state must declare the children to be the most precious treasure of the people. As long as the government is perceived as working for the benefit of the children, the people will happily endure almost any curtailment of liberty and almost any deprivation, end quote. Take a guess. Adolf Hitler.
Yeah!
Adolf Hitler.
Maybe Joseph Goebbels.
You know what the mantra means. Toronto police officers and officers across the country, I'm here for my children.
Yeah!
And your children.
Yeah! And grandchildren. Don't forget them.
And to do that effectively, I sincerely ask the police not to do something illegal, not to do something beyond their jurisdiction, not to do something new or unprecedented. I'm asking you to uphold the foundation of the authority you wield with the right to carry a firearm, to apprehend citizens, to use force and even lethal force at times. I'm asking you to uphold your oath to the Constitution and the Charter. In fact, since the Charter is not actually granting rights and freedoms, but rather acknowledging their innate existence, I'm really just asking you to be the human being the Creator intended you to be, righteous and just. The Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, our foundation and boundaries of lawful order, has guided police services since 1982. These rights remain the foundation of the Police Services Act of Ontario, and every officer's oath as a component of the Constitution police officers swore to uphold. Failing to uphold your oath destroys the boundary between freedom and tyranny, taking us down a very, very dark path. Please, be the human being the Creator intended you to be as law enforcement, righteous and just. Please uphold your oath. Thank you.
Mike J. Woo!